up to around 12 and a half. So we do have quite a wide variety of different alligators in here. Now, we don't have everyone quite just yet, but that's actually absolutely fine, because while we do advertise this as a feeding, what we're actually going to be doing is a training session. And this is a completely voluntary training session. And so if an alligator decides not to show up today for whatever reason, that's absolutely fine, because like I said, this is not a feeding, this is not their daily diet. We're just giving them some little pieces of meat as a snack and a reward for coming and training with us today. If someone decides not to show up, again, that's totally fine. They're free to hunt and get all the food that they need on their own. But of course, we do love it when we have everyone show up, because as this being our training session, it allows us to take the best care possible of these animals. So what Rachel is doing right now, actually, ignore the bad. There is no punishment associated with either doing something incorrectly or not doing something we asked. So that does keep us safe when we're out here. We start every single feeding by just tossing them some food in the water, and you'll see her doing that periodically throughout the feeding. Getting her up on land gives us the opportunity to make sure that she's healthy. We can see all of those body parts that are otherwise hidden in the water, make sure she's walking properly, and that everything looks good. And this is really important for alligators, of course, because it is so difficult to see them when they're in the water, but also because of how they can communicate. So although they can make a variety of different vocalizations, alligators, of course, being famous for having those really strong jaws and a mouthful of large teeth, they communicate with each other physically. And that's often seen through what we would call fighting, ways to keep themselves safe. So they actually have really strong immune systems to help them heal from injuries very quickly. And you actually see alligators, even in the wild, missing limbs all of the time. And that's because they fight with other alligators, they lose those limbs, but they just heal right up and basically move on with their lives like nothing ever happened. That's how strong their immune systems are. They also have these big bony plates that you see along their back. These are called osteoderms, and these osteoderms act as body armor to help protect all of those important organs when they do fight. So they do have some great ways to make sure that they stay doing this normal, but of course we want to make sure that no one has any serious injuries that would need further medical attention. So we love being able to bring them out of the water to make sure that everybody looks healthy. And then if we do see something that concerns us, we have the ability to bring our vet staff out here onto the beach through all of this training that we do to keep us safe and of course all the alligators healthy. And now even more advanced than simply getting them to walk a few steps up on the beach, we can do something that we call target training. Over my shoulder here, you can see these targets, which are basically colored frisbees attached to sticks. And this works because in addition to having their own names, all of our alligators also have their own unique color target. And so if we, what we can do is simply hold out an alligator's target, call their name, and then that alligator's going to walk towards it, touch it with their nose, and then get some food, the food that they need. And now actually even more advanced than just figuring out how big they are, we are working towards voluntary medical procedures with our alligators. Things like voluntary blood draws and voluntary x-rays. And so I'm sure you could imagine trying to get blood or an x-ray on an alligator who doesn't want to give it is a very difficult process. So we're using this target training for our alligators to voluntarily participate in these things. So in next training session, we would take it back a step to where he was comfortable, and of course he had the option to simply get up and leave at any point. Now he never did that because our alligators are very food motivated, as you might imagine, but it is really great to know that we can give these alligators a choice to participate and make it a very unstressful experience for them. It's important to know their personalities and how to identify them, of course, because they do have some very unique traits, every one of them. We have one of our females who really loves to jump towards her target. One of our males who loves to just run towards it as fast as he can every time. Now obviously that's something you want to know before you call that alligator up. And so that is one of the reasons that as much as we love doing this games, and again, that is for the very good reason that it's dangerous for people to get this close to them. But not only that, it's actually also dangerous for the alligators themselves. And Scar. So it's actually dangerous for the alligators as well to be fed by humans, and that's because they are naturally afraid of us. They view us as large predators as well, and they much rather be left alone by us. But unfortunately, if an alligator is being routinely fed by humans, they'll lose that fear of us and will start to associate humans with food. And so just like how many of our alligators were out here waiting for us at the beach before the feeding, wild alligators will learn the same things. They'll pick up on patterns and recognize when and where people are feeding them, and will frequent that area and start approaching humans looking for food. And once alligators are approaching humans, that's when they can be deemed a nuisance alligator, and when we have these human-wildlife conflicts occurring. And nuisance alligators have to be permanently removed from the population in order to keep us humans safe, which is unfortunate because it is a human-caused problem. They've tried relocating them in the past. They were finding that the alligator was either finding its way back to that original location or simply being a nuisance in that new area. Alligators are smart and they're very food motivated, so, don't feed them. And every once in a while having a raccoon as a snack, these alligators are acting as guardians to those bird populations. So they are incredibly important. They do play some surprising roles, but we definitely want them in the of all time. And that's because people realized their numbers were dropping, wanted to do something about it, so they were one of the first animals to be added to the U.S. endangered species list back in the 1970s. Wild populations. And so because of this, the American alligator has made an incredible comeback. There's now estimated to be over 1 million wild American alligators in the state of Florida alone. A huge improvement from the few thousand that existed just several decades ago. And so we do like to leave you with the message that no matter how dire an animal's conservation status may seem, how low their numbers are, how many threats they may face, there's always something that can be done. Don't lose hope, because it's not over until it's over. And in fact, just by coming to the Naples Zoo today, each and every one of you has helped play a direct role in saving animals, because a portion of your ticket proceeds goes directly into funding research and conservation projects, both here in Florida and around the world. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming out to the Naples Zoo and to our Alligator Bay feeding. We're going to hang out here a little bit longer, finish up our training. We can answer any questions that you might have. Otherwise, we do have one final primate expedition cruise leaving from the boat docks down there. And then the zoo closes at 5, so be sure to see everything before that time. Once again, thank you everyone for coming out. We hope you enjoyed the rest of your day.